Well, hello there. This is Faber USA, and today I'm going to show you how I install the Faber BSWKIT. This guitar has already been stripped down, so basically what you need to do is remove your bridge, and the next thing you have to do is remove the original Nashville bridge bushings. So we give you this little bolt to do that. Very simple. They're always hollow on the bottom, so what happens is it presses against the wood inside and just lifts out. Now these are never in particularly, I've never had one, I've done over 500 of these that were really difficult to take out. In some cases they just pull out by hand, which is typical of Gibson, things not being totally consistent. But in any event, this is how you do it. This is an 8mm wrench. It's a 5mm bolt. And just pull them out. Very simple. Alright, and then I'm going to repair the holes just by chamfering the tops of the holes a little bit. I just want to take the edge off. For that I'm just using a little countersink bit. And again, I just want to break the sharp edge, that's all. Okay, so the next step is bring it over to the drill press and tap the holes. So I'll be back at you soon. Okay, so actually before we put the guitar onto the drill press table and tap the holes, what I wanted to show was how guitar bodies warp. Now unfortunately this is a very common occurrence. Most of the guitars I've come across have warped one way or the other. The reason Gibson uses the Nashville system is particularly for this reason. I mean, that system is so sloppy that it kind of makes up for warpage that happens, you know, either way. Now you can check your own guitar, and the way you do it is take a perfect straight edge, lay it across the body at the widest point, and then look for where the gaps are. Now on this one the gap is in the center, which means that the tops of the bridge posts are going to be further away from each other than they normally should be if the guitar was not warped. On the other hand, if there was no gap in the center but you had it at the end where the straight edge would actually rock, that way the posts would be a little closer to each other than they should be. Anyway, just wanted to point that out before we get going on to the rest of the BSWKIT installation. Okay, thanks. Alright then, so here we have the guitar on the drill press table, and we have our 8mm by 1.25 tap. It's a flat bottom tap. The reason you want to use a flat bottom is if you use a tapered kind, it might wind up bottoming out in the hole before you get all your threads in that you need to get in. Basically on these modern Gibson guitars, the neck angle is 5 degrees, maybe 5+ degrees. So what I do is, on the modern guitars, I do 10 full turns of the of the tap. You know, like 20 half turns. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so basically, once you get the tap set in, you know, wiggle a bit, the handle a little bit, it kind of gets the guitar in exactly the position I want to be. So now I'm going to start my turns. So the last couple of turns are a little more difficult because you're kind of starting to bottom out. And what you need to do is, what you want to do is hold the handle of the drill press, you know, give a little pressure on it as you're backing it out. This way it doesn't lift up the guitar and pull out on the last couple of threads when you get there. I should have been counting, but that's about it. Okay. And on to the next one. center it by eye the best you can. And then as you pull the handle down, the guitar will kind of shift into the exact position you want it to be. So here I go again, 10 full turns. And again, the last couple of turns, like when I got to like 9, it gets a little more difficult because you're starting to bottom it out. Okay, there we have it. Nicely tapped holes. Take a little compressed air and blow out the dust. And okay, next step will be I'll bring it back to the bench and actually install the BSW kit. See you then. Okay, so now to install the BSW kit. Now there's two ways you can set up the studs to be able to do it. What I did with this one was in the BSW kit you always get 2 nuts that fit onto the BSW kit. They're 4mm. So I put one underneath this thumb wheel, all the way down flush with the top of the BSW kit bottom. Then the thumb wheel, and then another nut on top. Okay, if you have a tone lock master kit, or a tone lock bridge, you either got separately or you bought in a tone lock master kit. You take one of the 4mm lock nuts, put it on upside down until it bottoms out. Same principle. Then put the thumb wheel, and finally, I need another nut. Okay, 4mm nut on top. So I'll show you. I'll do it using both. First, I'll do the one with the 4mm nut on the bottom. All right, so holes are nicely threaded. It's screwed in. Now, what you want to do, you can basically put it in finger tight, and take a 7mm wrench and just turn it a bit more until the top of that nut that's underneath is like almost flush with the body. Alright, that's tight enough. Take off the nut. Let it fly off like that. Most of the time they come off by hand. Sometimes you got to use a wrench just to bust it out a little bit. Okay, and there it is, nicely flush with the body. Same thing with the other side. This time using a lock nut from a tone lock bridge. Same principle. Turn it in a bit until the lock nut is almost flush. Now it's getting a little tight. That's where I want to be. Now, if it gets really, really too tight, it's very easy to break these studs off the top. It's steel. I say very easy. If you're really going to have to force it, then either you didn't make enough threads in the body, or maybe you use not a flat bottom tap, and like I said, you didn't get nice threads all the way down to the bottom. So what you don't want to do is force it and snap the top off. It then becomes a headache to get them out. I've done it before, and it's something you don't want to do. Now, from the little section before where I showed you about warpage of the body, this one is warped. It was you can see daylight under the straight edge in the middle of the guitar, which means that the tops of these posts are a little further apart than if the guitar was perfectly not warped. So here's an ABRN bridge. It's from Nashville. It actually fits okay. The warpage wasn't that great. If the warp was more than that, you could run into a problem where it's not going to fit, where these posts are going to be too far apart from each other. In which case, what you have to do, obviously, you're going to have to bend them. So I use a tool like this to do that. You know, and I would screw it all the way down as far as I can go, and being able to bend it a little bit. And I'm not going to bend these because, like I say, this one wasn't warped enough to have that problem. But you know, I leave a little gap. What you want to do is bend it as close to the body as possible. So you would just take it and bend it in a little bit, like a tiny bit, depending upon how far apart it is. You can do it on both sides. You know, what you need to do in this case on a guitar like this, as I said, if the top's too far apart, you bend them in a little bit. Fortunately, I don't have to do it. Now, if they were too far apart for the ABRN bridge, this one, which fits fine, if you had a tone lock bridge, it wouldn't really matter too much, because the tone lock bridge, of course, the holes are much bigger. You have 0.8 millimeter inside on each side, or yeah. So if they're warped enough, and even if those are a little tight, once you put the lock nuts on, that's one, that's another. And when you screw them in, it will actually pull the studs into position and everything will be fine. Okay, well that's it. That's installing the BSW kit. I hope you got something from it. And if you're going to do this yourself, I mean, this is best left for a professional that has the equipment to do it. You know, our other solutions are much easier for the do-it-yourselfer. But this is how we do it if you're brave and you want to try it yourself. The only thing is, of course, if you're not using a drill press, then you have to really be concerned about getting the studs in perfectly straight. That's the only thing. Okay, well, till next time, bye.